Welcome to 10 Talks, real conversations for champions with champions, where a champion life is a 10 life. Thank you for joining our team today. I'm Carlette Patterson, your head sports life coach at the Life Training Academy, and it's our desired outcome to share our passion for sports life coaching by training you to live a 10 life. You and your life matter. Let's get coached. Okay, team, welcome to 10 Talks. We are excited for another weekend. We are here with Murray from New Zealand, and today we are talking about the winning strategies that we can learn in sport and life. And Murray, I want to talk all about sailing today.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to dive right in. I know from your book, you've got a chapter in your book that's all about the sailing thing, and that's right where I want to go. So I want to dive into really the words of wisdom that your dad taught you. I want to talk about the dinner table. I want to talk about get in front and stay there. So just, tell us about the journey of being a Masters World Champion in sailing.
Well, Dad taught himself to sail. And so, he brought sailing, of course, we didn't have a choice. My brother and I, we went sailing. There was no other sport. I think it's like that with a lot of people, eh? The baseballers breed baseballers, basketball,
Yeah.
and the sailors breed sailors. And but in full credit to my dad, I will say this, that he was a champion sailor. He passed that love on to us, next generation. Then there's another generation also of champion sailors. So Dad's, he's bred 3 generations of sailors, which is pretty cool. It really is.
And was he the first gen to start?
He was, yeah.
Okay,
and,
very fun.
He was as poor as a church mouse and didn't know anything about sailing. So, full credit for Dad for what he did. That's for sure.
Well, so tell us about those dinner table lessons.
Well, they never went well. Let me just tell you that.
Yeah. Sometimes the dinner table doesn't go well, but we're looking for how we can make that better.
I think the dinner table's fine. It's the dinner table lessons that tend not to go well.
Okay. Well, then there you go.
Because Dad would take, the knife and fork as 2 boats and the salt and pepper as 2 marks that you'd sail around, and he'd give Barry and I a bit of a lesson. And that would generally last for about 60 seconds. And then he would say, "You're not listening. I can't be bothered with you." And then we would do it all again the following night. So that was, as you'd expect.
Hey, ritual and routine, right? Huge winning strategy, whether you like it or not.
Well, I'm not even sure that parents should teach their kids anything. But that's a whole other conversation.
Well, we can talk about that too. So I do want to talk about the guy that trained you. And I really love that you got a trainer that was very good. So in terms of really playing up, sometimes when we're picking somebody to train with, or we're thinking about something that we want to go for, we're a little bit nervous about playing up at such a high level. So tell us about your thoughts on that.
Well, I think, to be great at any sport, of course, you've got to have a training partner. And, you spend half your life with them, don't you? And you really just, because, look, I'm not qualified to talk about other sports, but, when you go out sailing on your own, you always think you're sailing well. You always think you're going in the right direction, but you put another boat on the harbor and everything changes. Yeah. And all of a sudden, as you can imagine, the learning curve, I must say it must be a bit like that with basketball, going out on your own versus a one-on-one with another player. The skills change night and day. And, it's said that iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And I just love that we just need somebody to be our foil, if you will, don't we? And and so I sailed with a guy called my training partner. Well, it was my brother actually who was my training partner for many years, and then another guy called Mark Orams, and Mark ended up sailing around the world, won the round the world race, and we just sailed together all day, every day, and we both ended up winning a world championship in Brazil in our respective classes, which was absolutely fantastic. And he's just a remarkable human, and he certainly helped me a whole lot more than I helped him. Although I did help. I always made sure that we ate well. That I was on catering.
Okay, that was part of your job.
That was my job. The catering and making sure that the wine was good were my 2 specialties in the relationship.
Well, that is a very key part of a relationship, Murray. I can see now why it worked so well, because he knew exactly what your strengths were and assigned that to you rather than trying to make it about sailing.
That's dead right.
So let's jump forward in terms of just staying on that story. Tell us about when you both won the world championship and how, you went to meet him. Just take us through that journey, because that's an incredible 10 moment.
Well, do you mean when we went to Brazil?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, you go out and you sail in another country. I'd never sailed in those waters before, and it was blowing quite hard the first day that we went out, and the seas were very, very big. And we're in a laser, which is a small 14-foot boat. It's an Olympic class. Okay. We were out just for a training run, and we were blasting off at 100 miles an hour, and I kept tipping out, like tipping over. Mm-hmm. And so when you tip over, the race is over. I mean, the boats have gained hundreds and hundreds of meters on you. And that night, Mark said to me, he said, listen, don't push this at 100%, because if you do, you're going to tip out. And I said to him, gee, at a world championship, I thought we always had to be pushing 100%. He said, no, you need to back off. You need to keep the boat upright, and you need to sail at about 90% of what you're capable of. And as a result, I did that. I never tipped out in any of the 11 races, and I won the world championship. And look, I don't know how dumb I am, but I would have never known to back off. And there's a time to back off, isn't there, with everything, in order to go the distance. And so, yeah, that made the world of difference to me. That's for sure.
Well, those are huge words of wisdom. And whether it's a coach or a trainer, or just somebody who's a mentor, anybody that's looking out for you and really telling you those things, let's just dive in a little bit to that, because so many times, as you said, we're going for a goal, we're going for what we want, and we think it's about just 100% all the time, or you will hear people say 110%. And what a great word picture for us to see that there's really about strategy. It's about when to go, how to go. So what have you learned not only from doing that in sailing, but take us into your life stories as well? When has that really showed up that it hasn't been about 100% at that moment? It's been about the strategy.
Look, anybody in sport has a driven personality, don't they? Whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, you're still quite driven. And I think one of the keys to life is to be patient. And in other words, not lose sight of the goal, but be patient in our pursuit of it. That's probably the one thing that I've learned. It's sort of like, there's that scripture which says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. In other words, you're trying to get at a certain place and you're not getting there, so that, it makes your heart sick. Yeah. But also I think that when we've got a clear vision, whether that be a business goal or a sporting goal, we've just got to be patient, I think, on the journey. And that makes for a less frustrated life. I think that frustration is a terrible way to live, and a lot of people live with great frustration. And I think we need to be living with calm and with peace, knowing where we're going, but knowing that every day is not the same amount of steps, This is the way it is.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Yellow Submarine. Let's talk about failures. Let's talk about when things don't go as we've planned.
Well, there was another boat called a Finn, which is an Olympic class. Your audience, Carlette, they're not going to have a clue what we're talking about. But anyway,
you can tell us about it. You can explain the boats to us. I don't know anything about boats either, so go ahead, knock us out. Tell us about your boats.
A Finn was a small sailboat and also an Olympic class. Still is an Olympic class, and I wanted to race that. I'd never raced one before, and the guys that were racing them were big men, very big. And I was quite young, probably 20, 22. They were probably all over 100 kilos. Or you guys talking pounds, don't you? Over 200 pounds.
That's okay. We're good.
They're over 200 pounds. And I was probably about 160 pounds or something like that. I went out once in this boat, tipped it out, and it sank. And then my next race was the first race of the New Zealand Champs. So all I'd done was sail it once, sink it, and now I'm at the New Zealand Champs. But it was my dad, who was just a master sailmaker, who rigged the boat up and just told me exactly where to put all the controls. Like, hey, this main sheet needs to be this tension and this needs to be this tension. Anyway, as a result of that, I went down there and I won the New Zealand Champs. But basically, my dad did the whole thing for me. Like he rigged it up. He was just a master sailmaker. And so, hey, I've got a lot to thank my dad for, that's for sure. He wasn't going to win a personality contest, but boy, he knew how to make a boat go fast.
Well, hey, you definitely got a good support team. So that's part of life, is just knowing who to have on your support team and how to really let them be part of your team. I hope you're enjoying our conversation with this week's champion. And if you're curious about taking an online course from us, our Meet You courses, which is basically just the intelligence of you, we want to get you coached up so that you can live your best life. Go to meq10.com. That's MEQ10.com, and explore all of our different power of purpose, the fundamentals of well-being. We look forward to getting you coached in your MEQ life. Let's talk about failures. I think that's something that so many times we want to hear all the good parts of stories. We want to hear about the championships. And yet I know for all of us, we've really, we go through hard times. That's what makes us who we are, helps us really to understand what we value and what's important. And as you think about your life, not only the sailing, but just all the beautiful gifts that you've been given, what are some of the hardships that really surprised you in a way that the lessons showed up that you could have never imagined?
Gee, that's a huge question. Do you want to go first, Carlette?
No, I pass. I'm passing to you.
Um, there's that wonderful saying which says, experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted. And it's so true, isn't it? It's so true.
Those are great words of wisdom. I love that.
Honestly, it's one of my favorite phrases. It really is. And look, life and business are full of not so much disappointments, but things that don't go as well as you would have hoped.
Right.
Yeah. But I think just keeping an upbeat demeanor is a huge part of life. It's like in business, for instance, when somebody says no, like a lot of people, when they're told no, they take that on board, I don't. Honestly, I just don't hear it. If somebody says no, what I hear is, we're not doing it today.
Or not that way. That's what I hear. It's like, okay, we're not going to do it that way, but okay, yeah, I'll come back with another way. I'll figure this out. Yeah,
but we're definitely going to do it. And I think that most people are so easily put off. You pour, they think that they've got this fire going on. You pour half a glass of cold water over it and you extinguish it, And I always say, with a whole lot of things that we do, you haven't got enough cold water to extinguish what we're doing here. You just can't do it. Whereas, some people, just the odd little comment of cold water, it's enough to put them off. Terrible way to live.
So let's talk about your mental preparation that you found in sailing, and just kind of the fun that you had too, in terms of let's talk about where you got that tenacity and that resilience.
Well, before we went to the Worlds in Brazil, months in advance, I would come to the dinner table every night, and when the family's sitting there about to start the meal,
now, first of all, remind us how old you are and how old the family is.
Oh, well, I was like 45.
Yeah.
And so the family are like 10 or whatever, or 10 or 15 or something like that. And so as we'd come to the table at night, as everybody was sitting down about to start, I would stand up and say, and representing New Zealand and the new world champion, Murray Thom, and bow as if somebody put a medal over my head. But I didn't do it once, Carlette. I did it every single night for weeks and weeks and weeks. And of course, it was just a joke. I was just having fun. Of course, the family didn't even look at me after day 2. But in a similar way, I've started saying, and I say it all the time, that this is the happiest day of my life. I say it all the time. It's just a joke. I'm just kidding. But it's funny when you say it, part of it, like a very small part of it, actually you mean it.
Yeah,
on one level, you sort of mean it.
Right.
And what it does, of course, it's like the people around you that have never heard you say that before, they like thinking, really? And people always say, like even when it's just a really ordinary day, sometimes I say, well, this is the happiest day of my life. And they always say, well, shouldn't that be your wedding day? Or shouldn't that be when your first child is born? I go, oh, no, this is way better than that,
Well, and don't you love it when people try to write in your story kind of what day should be your best day?
Exactly, And so it's just, I think I've been very blessed with an upbeat demeanor. And I got that from my mum. She's a very, she's not glass half full. The water is flowing over the top, gushing out, So, very fortunate in that way.
Well, the beautiful part is, again, we kind of become what we practice. And so
That's true.
practice. Even if we don't feel like it, I'm sure there are days when, you get up and it's not a 10-day and you're struggling a bit, but it's immediately changing that mindset to being a champion for the day, winning the day, and making sure that, we take control of it and we get out and see what we can, make happen. So we're stepping into well-being. I know our world is in a very different place, a playbook that none of us have played by, and we're looking forward to a new season of health and really focused on relationships. So when you watch your film about the coronavirus and just the change that happened so big in New Zealand, and now with you guys coming out of it, what are some words of wisdom that you have learned that you're going to take into your next season of life?
Oh, Carlette.
You can do it, Murray. Dig deep. You got this.
No, all I've learned out of this is that I wasn't built for lockdown.
And your wife will say exactly the same thing. She wasn't built for you to be in lockdown.
No, but you know what? The mature people go, "Oh, lockdown's amazing. We're grounded and all that." And I'm thinking,
No way.
I'm like shallow hell. I'm the most immature person you've ever met in your life. So you could say, what have you learned from lockdown? I hated it. That's what I learned from lockdown.
That's perfect. So, well, now that you hate it and you know that you're free again, let's go to the fundamentals of fun, because you are fabulous at fun. And tell us about how you have fun in life.
No, but I will say this. So we were talking about it last night. People have got very fearful in this time, very, very fearful. They've stopped smiling. They've stopped interacting. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we're suffering from, is that we've got a community of people who are fearful.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like over there, but it's like, we're sort of looking sideways as if everybody's our enemy. And like, oh my God, I could catch this from you or something like that. It's terrible, It's a terrible way to live. I now have forgotten what your question was.
Well, I do want to stick with that for just a sec. I haven't forgotten my question. I'll get back to it. But I do want to talk about fear, because I think that's very much what we're feeling in the US, and it's showing up and maybe it's showing up for our team in terms of just what's happening. So what are you doing as you really step into managing fear?
Well, I think that I love the word encouragement.
Okay.
Because encouragement is the ability to give other people courage. Isn't that wonderful?
That is wonderful.
And discouragement takes courage from them.
Wow.
So,
team, those are huge winning strategies. Yeah, love that.
So, we need to be putting courage into the people that are around us, because most people don't have much of it. That's really it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. So we're going to capture courage there. My question before we went into that was about fun, because we're coming out, we're ready for fun. We're talking about well-being, and part of well-being is joy, embracing life, movement, exercise. I mean, that's the way we think about well-being, is just about relationships. And I've had the honor of, being in relationship with you for a good 10 or 15 years. It's been a total 10 in my life for you and your family. And you're very good at fun. So I want to talk about the fundamentals of fun. So what do you do for fun?
Well, gee, that's a toughie. That's a toughie. Look, I'm just wired that way.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm always looking for joy. And see, it's interesting. Joy and strength go hand in hand. And when you lose your joy, you lose your strength. That is for sure. And so, just our ability to stay upbeat, it's good for your immune system. It keeps you young, And I look at my mum, she's always upbeat. She's 90, for goodness sake. She's 90 going on 40. In fact, she's more fun than most 40-year-olds I've met. And but just our ability to be grateful, and oh man, there's so much to be grateful for.
Well, that's the beauty. Courage, gratitude, fun, just joy, and really focusing on what we can control and putting that encouragement into people. And so as we sign off for this week for our team, any words of wisdom that you want to give our team as we go for another 10 week this week?
Absolutely not.
You got nothing?
Nothing.
Well, you've been a 10. Thank you for sharing.
Carlette, when you start paying me, you might get more quality communication.
Well, good luck on that, Murray. This is your philanthropic donation of giving hope to the world.
We have always had a one-way relationship, you and me, Carlette.
You don't have to tell the whole world that, but that's okay. I own it. I'm happy to bring out the best in you, Murray. That's what a good coach does. Okay, team, that's it for our 10 Talks. Murray, thank you for a week of 10s and well-being, and we look forward to talking to you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you for listening. We'd like to get you coached up, so head over to iTunes and Spotify and hit subscribe. And remember, a champion life is a 10 life. You and your life matter. Create a life that you love, give hope to others, and be and choose nothing but 10s. Be you, the world needs you. Go to lifetrainingacademy.com to start your training and get coached.